You're listening to Make It Possible Ukraine Volunteer Heroes Stories, the podcast about volunteers who have made a difference in Ukraine. Together, we can make it possible for people in Ukraine. Today, we're excited to welcome very special guest to our podcast. Daan is returning volunteer who first came to Ukraine last summer and has came back again this summer to continue his incredible work. Originally from the Netherlands, Daan has spent over 2 years learning Ukrainian and is quite fluent now. That's pretty awesome. Daan has been an essential part of our initiative, bringing both his passion for helping others and his dedication to making a difference. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to this dedicated and compassionate volunteer, Daan. Hi, Daan.
Hi Katarina, thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
I'm very good. It's quite hot in Lviv, but I'm very good.
It is. Just to give a background, we're here in Lviv right now. It's almost mid-July, and we are going through a summer program now that will end in 3 weeks. So Daan has been very important part of this program. He actually planned one of the weeks, which was really fun. That week was about Ukrainian history and Ukraine in general, and I've heard it was really awesome.
Yeah, I thought maybe it's a bad decision because I thought, what can I tell about Ukraine to the kids?
But they loved it.
But they loved it. So
they
it was
did.
Great.
Everybody, like what I hear about Daan, like everybody loves his lessons. And Yulia, who is project manager, keep telling like Daan has such an interesting lessons. Kids love it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
It's huge help for us. So I'd like to ask you, like, how did you end up in Ukraine volunteering? Do you have any connection to Ukraine? How did that happen?
Yeah, to be short, I don't have any connection by family, by roots, by acquaintances. Well, now I have a lot of acquaintances and friends in Ukraine, but not earlier. So for me, it was really trajectory through the language. So I started 2 years ago with Ukrainian. Basically, I was in a really bad phase of my life, to be honest. I was really stuck. I was thinking, what do I want to do? What kind of job do I like? Do I want to start a different study? I even started my driver's license during that time because I thought, like, what else can I do? And that actually went pretty badly. I spent a lot of money and didn't make a lot of progress. So I even quit that. And like right at that moment was the start of the full-scale war in Ukraine. So it was kind of like a period like I had more time. I was really looking for something I could do, like I could put my teeth in. And because I always knew, like, once I find my motivation, once I find something I like, I can work really hard and can work really hard towards goals. And like it turns out, it was the Ukrainian language for me. I really liked learning that. So I started in March of 2022. I started just with Duolingo and then moved on further. So for me, really, the path towards volunteering and visiting Ukraine was really first through learning the language.
That's incredible. And now Daan is like fluent in Ukrainian. We all here, Ukrainians are so surprised because sometimes they're like, oh, you have Ukrainian person with you. I was like, no, he's volunteer. He's Dutch volunteer, but he just speaks almost perfect Ukrainian. That's awesome. That is so impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I started with volunteering first. The first year, I just learned the language. I really like learning the language. And then last year, somewhere in April, for the first time, I really started communicating with Ukrainians. So first, with Ukrainians in my town. So there's like a market there. There was like a market in the Netherlands. We have like a King's Day every year. And there was a market with Ukrainians. So that was really the first time I started speaking to Ukrainians. So I just walked towards Ukrainians. They had some like little items they sold. And I just asked, like, can I help you in any way?
Whoa.
And that was basically the first, like, and also the hardest step for me.
For sure.
Because for some reason it feels really weird to ask to people, like, how can I help?
It is.
Because you feel kind of vulnerable.
It is.
Like, they have their own things and, like, why do they need my help? So that was really the first step and the hardest step. And then I started having contact with Ukrainians, with refugees in the Netherlands. And that's basically started my journey with Ukrainians.
And volunteering in general.
Yeah, and volunteering in general.
I was also thinking about it, that it's really hard to make that first step.
Yeah.
to volunteering. It's like to understand the concept that you doing something can influence another person. Because usually we think that we're just like a small people and what can we do, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, we can do so much. Like one person can come to Ukraine, volunteer, and it will influence 50 kids we have now or something like that. And then those 50 kids would influence other people around them. And also I think there is some kind of interesting the way we influence each other when we volunteer, because we become a different people too.
Yeah.
We are ready to give back more and we're more kind to other people. I think it just makes the world such a better place when people decide volunteer and try it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Because in reality, what is a life about? It's just like you go to work, then you come home, you sleep, and then you have these weekends that most of the people just drink a lot because they hate their jobs. And that's majority of people's life. There is nothing there, there's nothing really behind that. But I think volunteering, that just gives these people this additional thing to appreciate life more. And also when they come back home or wherever they end up, they just appreciate everything around them so much more because of experiences they had.
Yeah, I think I can say my life thus far, the decision to learn Ukrainian and to roll in the Ukrainian community, that was the best decision of my life.
Really?
Yeah, because of course I help people, but I feel like it gave even more to me. Maybe it's not true
Totally.
than to the children, than the Ukrainians.
I think so too.
Because it gave me a lot of social contacts, a lot of good acquaintances, a lot of friends. I speak more to people in general than ever before.
100%. I was just telling somebody because I was worried about podcasts, and I am a numbers girl, so my work is just with numbers. So I haven't talked to a lot of people before because I would just work and that's it.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to do something like that. But I told my friend yesterday, just because I started this nonprofit, I speak to so many people, I'm not worrying anymore about doing podcasts or talk about public speaking, anything. Because when you believe in the message that you have to say, or you're true to other people, it just comes so easily. Compared when it's some, project at work and you just not believing in that as much. So I think with volunteering, you become more open because you do believe in the things you do and you do believe it's going to be a good thing for others.
Yeah, and I would really say to prospective volunteers, if you're in a job right now, look, a lot of people, they have an office job, they have a good job that is maybe not really with helping people directly, and they love their job, and that's totally fine. But if you're in a job right now and you kind of feel you miss the meaning, you miss the sense of your life, I would really invite you to take that first step, maybe go to Ukrainians or just volunteering in general, because I can tell you the first step is the hardest.
Right.
But you should remember how you perceive it is totally different than Ukrainians perceive it, or people who need help.
For sure.
So for you it feels really vulnerable, but it's actually only a really short moment, and then you're past the first step. And maybe then you will find the meaning, then you will discover sides of yourself that you didn't know you had. Because
I like that.
I didn't know I could be so empathic.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't discover that side of myself. So it is really true. You can live for a lot of years and maybe not find your particular talent. And it would be a waste if some people only do that job and never find that side of themselves.
So true. I noticed that for myself as well. Again, because I was working in technical job and I haven't used many of my skills. And now I realize, whoa, I'm really good with social skills, actually, which I never thought I am. Honestly, I haven't.
Yeah.
Even some people told me you don't have that or camera personality or you can talk as much inside of public. And I was like, yeah, probably I can't because I'm just accountant. But when you try it, it might be completely different and you have those talents that you never used. And in volunteering, you can actually try anything you want. You can try teaching, you can try helping making, you can organize something. So it's really unique experience, and you can use any, you can try to create any project you want, which is the beauty of it. It's really awesome.
Yeah, for me, it changed my whole life. I'm really dedicated to Ukraine now, to Ukrainians. For now, I will stay here 3 months, and hopefully later I can receive a visum so I can stay for a year.
Whoa, and that's just one step, asking Ukrainian people if you can help.
Yeah.
You're just passing that one small thing. That's so cool. So would you recommend coming to Ukraine and volunteering to other people?
I would say it like this. Of course, I would want every volunteer in the world to go here, but I also feel like it's more about quantity than quality. So I would really ask yourself, do I really want to go to Ukraine specifically? Do I have something with Ukraine, either the language, the country, the people? Because, to be honest, there can be like two groups of volunteers. Like to some, they want the volunteering in general. So it could be Ukraine, it could be a different country. So they can have a great experience, and I would invite them to come. But I think it's better to ask for yourself, like, yes, I want to volunteer. There is a specific country or people you like. Of course, here we are to promote like the Ukrainian cause, but I think it's important to really ask yourself, like, do I have some kind of connection with Ukraine? Because I noticed like the best volunteers are those that really have some kind of bond with Ukraine. They really care about like the outcome of the war, the fate of the Ukrainian people, the culture, the language, all those kind of things. So yeah, that would be my honest answer. Not like just everybody should come, but really ask yourself, like, do I have something with Ukraine, some kind of connection? And those people are the best. So I would especially invite those people. I would invite everybody, but especially those people.
That's amazing. That's a very good advice for volunteer to decide if they want to come to Ukraine or not. And just in general, like, how do you decide things in life? You have to understand, you have to know your why. And when you know your why, the outcome would be so much better for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I just want to say thank you so much, you personally, for what you have done for your country. They have done so much for us. They've been so supportive. And one of the best countries, the most support we got out of Europe. They're amazing. And you might not see it right now, but for people in Ukraine, when we see a person like you coming here, volunteering, spending time with our kids, it means so much to us, because it's really hard at this moment to find like something bright, something to look forward, because it's very uncertain. But when we see people like you, especially you've done so great with us, it gives us a hope. Like, we believe that something good is coming our way and people care about us. So that's such a big deal. Thank you so much for everything you have done.
Thank you very much. Like, I see it like as a good thing on both sides. It gives me a lot of meaning in my life that I sought for a long time. Like, what kind of life do I want to live? And I now understand it will be in Ukraine. And at the same time, I'm really happy with that motivation to help Ukrainians.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dan.
No problem. Thank you very much.
See you next year in Ukraine.
Thank you. We'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. I hope you enjoyed our amazing volunteer story as much as I did. I truly hope it inspires you to volunteer in Ukraine. We need as much help as we can get, and every effort counts. Check out our Instagram, Make It Possible Ukraine, and our website, makeitpossible.ua.org, for information on our current and future programs. If you can, please support our future initiatives financially by donating on our website. Your contribution will help us continue to bring smiles to more kids in Ukraine. Thank you so much, and see you in the next episode.